Y'all, so this story time plus some of the comments, totally worth tuning in. Totally. Is story times plural. She says his mistress made him a better husband. I feel nauseous. Off the bat, just tune in. She says, this is a throwaway. I'm just nauseous and want to vent. Please let me do it here. Everything changed about 3 years ago, and my husband became the man of my dreams, became my dream man. Before that, we suffered a lot in our marriage. After two hard pregnancies and postpartum depression, my libido was diminished and we fought all the time. After 4 years of dead bedroom, we started therapy. I thought that was where the improvement came from. My husband started paying attention to me. In the beginning, I was panicking because whenever he paid me attention, before he expected sex, but now it felt like he was seeing me as a human being for the first time. He was attentive and caring, emphatic. He touched and cuddled and kissed me out of the blue without wanting sex in return. He started helping around the house, bringing me flowers, taking me out to dinners when I work late, planning date nights. Anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays are planned perfectly. And I started getting the most beautiful and thoughtful gifts. When we fought, he would come the very next day and admitted his wrongs, and very accurately. It was if he was the one that was in the wrong, something he never did before. He would apologize too. When back in the day, him apologizing would be a blow to his ego. He said he was happy all the time and lucky to have us as a family. Everything was better, and I even got my libido back, if not as high as I hoped for. I found their conversation about 5 days ago, and I had probably spent over 50 hours reading them. 3 years worth of conversation. He would tell her his woes, and she would listen. 99 out of 100 times, she sided with me. She taught him about intimacy and how important it is in marriages. The tragically funny part is that he never got angry or offended by her telling him off, calling him silly, stubborn, or at times a man baby. Her honesty was brutal, and yet he agreed with her. She was the one suggesting all the changes, and he would ask her for advice about gifts, traveling, and all of the beautiful things he did for our family. He thanks her all the time for helping him turn his miserable home life around, making it tolerable. With all these texts, there were the texts between them that are about them like nobody else existed around them. The flirting, sex talk, and pictures, the longing to see each other. He says she is the love of his life every day and that he wishes their circumstances were different. She says the same. They both agree that divorce would ruin their families and that they couldn't be selfish. How admirable. Y'all, could you imagine finding these text messages and how that would just blow up your fairy tale that you have formed about your husband? She says, I feel nauseous. My happiness for the past 3 years was fake. I don't know what to do. I want to hurt them. I want to expose them and I want to ruin whatever they think is perfect happiness. Okay, so then she started getting chats and she started like answering the chats in this edit, which is interesting. She's like, I'm getting these chat requests about my comments not being visible. Is that normal? I'm trying to answer you guys. Sorry. She says, hi again. Since I can't comment and I can't answer all the chats, I will answer here. She says, I am 35. My husband is 39. We have two children, 9 and 7. She is 40 and she has one child who's 14. She is in a dead bedroom with her husband too and for 14 years. The affair is physical too, yes, but they meet maybe once every month or every other month. She tells my husband that what they probably feel is limerence, but that they don't know it yet because they meet so little. She lives in another city. Yeah. Can you imagine? I can't imagine. But what would you do? What would you do? That's something that I want you guys to go ahead and comment in the thread. How would you move forward knowing that your husband became a better husband because of his mistress? Okay, so for some of the comments, this person says, send her flowers and a thank you note. Send him divorce papers. Send her husband their text. And then this person says, then update Reddit. Absolutely. We will totally need an update about how she handled this. And this person says, clearly the most critical part of the plan. It all collapses otherwise if she doesn't update Reddit. For real, OP, once all the chips fall, we need an update. So just know that yes, people are suggesting we need an update. If we get an update, I'll update y'all. Now let's get into this next story time that is within the comments. This person says that pretty much happened when my now ex-husband cheated. His affair partner pushed him to move out of our house. The house was actually mine. I bought it without him. He didn't want to move out because he thought he'd lose the house, my house, to me. She insisted, telling him that she didn't want to be with a married man who still lived with his wife and child. She told him to get a place of his own temporarily as she has some things to wrap up financially. Then she sell her house and they get a place together. He moved out into an apartment. Right after that, she then dumped him and ghosted him. I sent her flowers and a thank you note. And this person says, I can't decide whether the affair partner was a heroine or a villain. This person says, both. She started the affair knowing he was married. He told her that we had a dead bedroom, pretty much lived separately, and would be divorcing soon. None of that was true when he started the affair. She found out the truth from friends he introduced her to. Yes, he actually introduced her to a couple of his friends. One of the wives filled her in. I was pretty upset when it came to light, but I couldn't hate her. She didn't take the vows or have a life with me and our child. He did. This was 100% on him. No matter what any potential affair partner does, says, or promises, it's up to the married person to honor their vows and not disrespect their marriage or their spouse. This person says, I've jokingly suggested that my boyfriend should send my ex a Christmas card thanking him for cheating on me. Absolutely. When someone cheats, it is totally, it's a clean break if you just let it be broken and then you can heal and move on quickly. Okay, so this person says, so she got to win him and then ghosted. I love how you handled it. So brave and glad you got to keep your house. The person says, thank you. I felt as though the flowers and the note were both an FU, what were you thinking, and a thank you at all the same time. The house, I had to pay him to get out completely. Long story, but it cost me tens of thousands. As it turned out, she wasn't his first or his only. Y'all, I told you that this was a lot. I suspect Flower Girl may have found out about the others. One of his others was our marriage counselor. I should post about that one sometime. It was a doozy. I was so naive and trusting back then. This person says, I really hope said counselor lost whatever license they had because of that. Cheating with the client? What the heck? Okay, so she continues the story. She did. It's a wild story. I unexpectedly ran into her when she was trying to enroll her child in my son's school. She was sure she had convinced my husband to leave me and marry her. She had planned to move with her kid into my house with him. I went incendiary. I told her at the top of my lungs in the school office in front of parents and staff that being our marriage counselor and having an affair with my husband didn't entitle her to my life. And if she didn't get the F out of town, I would ruin her life and pursue her license. I told her that I had all of their emails and her love notes as proof. Pretty sure Flower Girl found out about the therapist around the same time I did, as my ex would frequently talk and bring up women friends in conversations. Cheaters do that kind of thing. The therapist had been seeing us together as a couple and then a bit started seeing him separate because he needed more help. I actually agreed with her. In sessions, she kept blaming me for everything. I mean, for ridiculous things and speaking for him and not letting me ask questions in our sessions. It was very confusing. Turned out she even knew about him having several other affairs, which I knew nothing of. At that point, I didn't even know he was having any affairs. I was so stupid. I was just young, naive, and very trusting. I figured out that he was having an affair with her when he came home one evening and wanted to make a pair of earrings for her birthday. I'm a jeweler, calling her by her first name. I mean, what the actual F? I confronted him, and then there was his face that told me everything. After the school run in, it took a bit more pointed convincing, but she ended up moving to Arizona. I then went after her full force. She ended up losing her license in both California and Arizona. F.U. Madeline. Let me go ahead and just make a part two. I'll be right back. Okay, part one ended with F.U. Madeline. So let's continue. She says, so yes, he was actually having affairs with multiple women at once, at least three. I found out for sure when I found his diary. Idiot actually kept a diary. And no, I'm not making this up. It happened. Woman number 3 was married and had 3 kids. I was stunned. Besides those, he even a bit later had an affair with our son's teacher's aide, who, when he finally moved out, wanted to move into my house and be roommates. She and I were friends, and yes, when I found out, I got her fired too. In counseling mandated by a court, it came out that he had a passive aggressive personality disorder as well as being a narcissistic sociopath diagnosed. Yeah, he did not get custody. I'm good now, many years later, but understandably, for a lot of time, I trusted no one because of him. I never remarried. How could you ever trust any man how could I ever trust any man that much ever again? He is now remarried to a woman he cheated with on someone other than me, and then later cheated on multiple times. I know this because he confided in our then 12-year-old son. His current wife owns everything, has all of the money and the power in the relationship, and orders him around like a dog. Kind of fun to watch, really. He calls once in a while to see if I can get our now adult son to return his calls. As if. Like I said, this story had tons of mess in it. Totally worth tuning into. This person says, Jesus H. Christ, less said about him, the better. I hope you're all right. More power to you. That story time totally could create a novel or some kind of movie because, man, that was just a mess. Anyways, you guys go ahead, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think of all this. Do you have any story times? And can you see why a lot of women just are opting out of marriage or not getting remarried after a divorce? I can totally see it and understand it. Y'all, go ahead, jump in the comments, like, comment, share.